Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to our November Idea Jam. My name is Stan Baines, and I am your chair of this session and a steering committee member of the Canadian Network for Imagination and Creativity, or CNIC for short. My fellow friends in imagination and in our steering committee with us this evening are scattered about on your Zoom screen. So, committee, if you could give us a wave just to let everybody know where you are. Perfect. We are always so excited to be back in this hour-long gathering place in our video conferencing world to share with you our different topics from our hosts and guests, and then to the open discussions that happen afterwards with you. Our goal here at Scenic is to create and foster an open, forward-thinking dialogue as we look to find new ideas, see creativity and imagination from different backgrounds and angles, to look at things from different perspectives, and to ask questions and explore our inner innovation. It is our hope that through our discussions to collaborate through idea sharing, expand our minds in new directions, create partnerships in our differences, in our sameness, and in our beliefs. Let us find creativity through the exploration of our imaginations and the ideas, and do this together with each other in our space. I would like to acknowledge at this time that as a resident of Clarence, Rockland, Ontario, which sits just outside of the east end of the city of Ottawa in Ontario, Canada, that I'm chairing our meeting on traditional unceded land of the Algonquin Anishinaabe territory and people. As we look back on the crooked paths we once journeyed in the wrong directions, we walk together on the straighter roads to righteousness. Our Idea Jams is our space to learn, explore, and share. We want you to reflect and participate in your way and make this idea space your own. Not only do we want to hear your ideas and thoughts, but listening is equally as important. Our format here is very simple. Once our hosts guide our discussions for the evening, we will open the floor for our chats and conversations to begin and see where the journey will lead us during our time together. Nothing is a bad idea. Every discussion point helps move the idea along. This is an opportunity to explore and share. Zoom is our platform of choice for this discussion. Zoom allows you to participate in many different ways. It has built-in controls that allow you to raise your hand so we can see you when you wish to join in the conversation. You can add things to our chat function, which helps to move things along. And you can share your emotions with the little emotion reactions as well. Share your ideas your way and join in the jam. For tonight's jam, we will be guided by Peter Gamwell. He will be talking about creativity as a force of social transformation. The Odyssey continues. So let's dive into the jam. Peter, over to you, my friend.
Well, thank you so much, Stan. And as usual, you bring such a warm and welcoming space for us all to enter into. So I really appreciate that. I think it would be remiss if we didn't, at this point, saying congratulations to our one and only Mingyu, who received her doctorate this Monday. Congratulations, Mingyu. That is so well deserved. We've been following your path for a long time, actually, since the beginning of the CNIC, I do believe.
Yes.
All right. So you're very welcome. Thank you. Okay. So where did we come up with the idea for this one, for this idea jam? I'm going to say it was about 18 months ago. We thought, yes, it was sort of just at the end of COVID, and a group of us on CNIC decided, well, we should really be thinking about doing a live event. And we brainstormed about the topic, and one of there were several things that we knew we wanted to address, and that is that we're living in a very complex age when people are feeling disengaged, they're feeling down, they're feeling like they need support, and particularly people in underprivileged communities. So as we were bouncing these ideas around, our dear friend Goran is scribbling down, and he came up with this title, Creativity as a Force of Social Transformation. And I added on an Odyssey. And so there we have it. So it was a combination of different ideas. We had that conference on April the 24th, where we had 100 people to come together from all sorts of diverse backgrounds. We had some really in-depth conversations throughout that 24-hour period, and some hilarity ensued as well. I'm going to put a link to a channel, a playlist on my YouTube channel, where I managed to capture some of those ideas, and you can go take a look at that. However, where was it going to take place? And I remembered in the recesses of my mind, I remembered the name Luc Lalonde. And I thought, he's a creative chap. I wonder what he's doing now. And when I traced him down, he was at the former Rideau High School, and which has now been transformed in a way that we're going to learn about. So we partnered with we partnered with the folks at Rideau. We partnered with St. Paul School of Social Innovation. We partnered with the Ottawa Carleton District School Board, and not least our friends from the National Creativity Network in the United States. And we put off this amazing and very moving conference. So let's start with you, Sebastian. The Rideau Community Hub. How did this all start? How did a closed down high school emerge into such a place of transformation?
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sebastian. I'm joined here with Luc. We decided we'll actually be in the former Rideau High School at the Rideau Community Hub. We hope you can hear us well.
Yeah.
So I'm the director of the Rideau Rockcliffe Community Resource Center. We're one of the, you call it anchor tenants, or one of the tenants here in the building. There's about 30 plus organizations, most of us charities, all non-for-profits, operating out of this building. And we, generally speaking, are a multi-service agency. Literally the wall over on this side, behind there is our food bank. On this side, we have one of our other food security programs. We run children and youth services. It's a traditional, I think a very traditional resource center in that aspect. But we also have spaces like the incubator, which I think we'll get to talk a little bit about that. But there we try to include social innovation and try to be part of communities like this, for example. So we used to operate out of a building very close to here. We're located in the, for those of you who are not in Ottawa, sort of the eastern part of Ottawa, Ward 13. We were looking for a new space to operate from. And at the time, the high school had been decommissioned officially. And we moved here. And at the time we were, I'm so sorry.
Is it echoing?
Yeah, it's echoing. Yeah.
Okay, let's try. I think now it's good. At the time, there were already two tenants here in the building, but the largest part of the building was still empty. And that's actually when I joined the organization, about 2019. I was then I moved the first project here. It's literally the incubator, which became the first project, the first presence of our center here in the building. And at the time, it was the floors were still rather empty. There was a little bit of programming happening here and there. And then we slowly started moving our operations here. We started bringing the food bank here. There's a lot of renovations going on. Yeah. And then COVID happened, which we all remember. And then everything moved to what before was really becoming a vibrant space. People coming in here became a lot of empty corridors. And at the end of the day, it was mostly the food programming operating and everything else shifted online. What happened then after was that I've been very lucky to meet Luc very much at the beginning of my journey when coming to Canada in 2018. And we started hanging out more, and we started coming here and realizing that this building is just such a big asset. But it had always been a big asset, but then COVID happened and everybody kind of transitioned to work from home. And we felt that next to operating our traditional programs, we want to try to bring in additional partners to this neighborhood, into this part of the city, which usually might not be here, because many of the organizations have choices where they can operate out of, and everybody who operates out of this building brings an additional resource to this neighborhood. So that's our motivation from a community resource center. And what we've also noticed is that every single one of our programs benefits strongly from having these partnerships, right? Sometimes it's very unusual partnerships. Sometimes you would say, so why would you be working with a community resource center? We have partnerships with theater groups. We have partnerships with the private sector, with all the post-secondaries, with small organizations, big organizations. But I think what allows us to do that is that we find a way to plug that in through, for example, the Social Innovation Hub. We have a space where we can meet, we have a space where we can try things, we can have a place where we can fail with things. That's also definitely happening here. And we're very lucky to meet a lot of great people along the way. And I think that is ultimately, and then now I'm coming to an end. I think what has worked so well is that we've been looking at this building since the beginning as our neighborhood. This is our rental building as we look at it, right? It's a building full of people, and you can live in a building full of people without knowing anybody, or you can start making connections. The likelihood that your life will improve, that maybe somebody will have a barbecue and invite you to that, the likelihood that people will build these connections is a lot higher if you make an effort. And we've been seeing that over and over and over again, that if we start building these relationships, good things happen. And they've been happening ever since, sometimes with us, sometimes without us, and that's great too. And we're just really, really fortunate to also have this space that we call our home now since a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd just like to build upon that. So, as I say, when the committee who running the conference, well, we were looking for somewhere, and I thought back to Luc and what he was doing. I walked into Rideau High School. I had no idea. I'd been in it when it was the actual high school, but I didn't know what was going on. And I'm going to say it took me about 45 seconds to realize this was the place, because it just exudes everything that conference was about. The conference title again, Creativity as a Force of Social Transformation. And here you are doing it. So there was no choice. We had to come. The other thing that struck me was how welcoming the place is. I think on that first visit, you took me on a tour around, and it took a long time because I was invited into so many spaces. I mean, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that. I'd like to get some stories of the stories that are in that building. But first of all, Luc, over to you. We refer to this, the Rideau Community Hub, as a shining example of a third place. What's a third place, Luc?
Sure, yeah, we'll jump into that in a second. I do, Sebastian, I want to acknowledge our Councillor Ralston King of Ward 13 is amongst the participants this evening, and certainly Ralston has a very good background in the history of the place, particularly during that period when the Ottawa Carleton District School Board made the tough decision of closing the school, and I know Ralston was probably very much involved in those conversations at the time. So if it's okay, I would love to invite Ralston to maybe say a few words around there.
Absolutely. I can only see 6 people. I had no idea that he was here. That'd be great, Ralston.
Well, it's great to join you this evening, and I like to think that I played a small role in the selection of the site. I was on the board of the Community Resource Center before I was elected, and I was on the board for a good period of time, I think nearly 7 years. And we saw this opportunity. There was a real interest in ensuring that the space, Rideau High School, after a long, protracted battle that the community had to ensure that it stayed open, and unfortunately lost that battle. I think the prevailing feeling in the community was to ensure that it remained in public hands and it served the public interest. And so the board had, and there's some leaders who are still around the table at that board who really drove the vision of ensuring that we could co-locate different social services in the public interest, in the public good, at the center. And so it was a large effort across the community, I must say. I think the board obviously played an instrumental role for the Community Resource Center, but it was many partners coming together, including Ottawa, to say that this is a great vision, that we can share the space, work together, keep the space in the public interest, leverage the space, create scenarios where there's synergies amongst different organizations. And like many relationships, it took time to blossom. But I was really impressed that people were committed to the cause, despite the fact that at the beginning there were differing opinions of governance, different opinions on how resources should be managed, who should manage the resources. But I think the wonderful thing about the experience, from what I can see from the 30,000-foot level, is relationships blossomed and they evolved. And like with all things, you don't know your partners at first, and then you build relationships, and then you build trust, and that trust strengthens. And I've seen that occur in the space over the length of time that the center has been, that the hub has been in operation. The other thing that's exciting is often people will say that innovation doesn't happen in the public sector and the nonprofit sector.
Mm.
Absolutely untrue. You're seeing unbelievable, evolutions of organizations. You're seeing amazing social enterprises that have taken root. You're seeing, the continuity of different types of services really kind of migrate to other organizations who have been in the building. So I'm really impressed, and I know everybody is really impressed. I see it as an incredible model of success, and it would be my hope that other levels of government, including the municipal government, really tries to understand the depth of the relationships and the ecosystems that have emerged in this hub, because I think it is definitely an amazing blueprint for other organizations, for other municipalities, different localities to replicate. Replicate might be the wrong word, because I think, frankly, what is happening at the hub is unique. But I think it's an amazing model that is worth exploration, examination, and ideally replication in other municipalities. So I had a small part. I was on that board. We advocated. I remember sitting in negotiations with Odawa, really being excited about the space, seeing the joy in the community from a very negative and frankly miserable experience with the closure of the school, to amazing experience seeing the school rejuvenated. And rejuvenate is a fun word, because I mean, everything from youth to the Council on Aging is in the building, and I think it's just an amazing expanse of different organizations that are doing incredible work in the community. And it's a hub for volunteers, which is also exciting. Sebastian might go into it slightly, but I mean, we have an older volunteer who sees it almost like a job and comes, lives across the street and literally comes to, I just think the irony of coming to school every day at that age.
She is actually a former student of this high school here.
Yeah, which is just incredible. And at an age where most people are slowing down, this person is going full speed, investing in the community. So I must say it's an amazing space. It's a space of innovation with Incubator 13. It's an important key space for the community in terms of the provision of social services, including food bank services, but that goes above and beyond to food security with dignity, and different types of social enterprises around food. Career fairs. Anytime I walk in, it seems like there's a career fair or something. It's just an amazing space. So I'm really pleased with how it's evolved, and for me, it's really ensuring that we work towards its continued sustainability. But I think that it's a testament to all the different organizations that work in that building. And I really want to say thank you to Sebastian and Luc and all the others who really inhabit that building and make it what it is every day. Their work is much appreciated by the community. But those are just a few of my observations. Every time I walk into the building, I'm excited and I learn something new. And and I'm the city councilor for the area, and so and I love the idea that I can discover a new universe, a new ecosystem of things every time I walk into the building. So I'll leave it there, but I am without a doubt maybe one of the number one fans of what's going on there. And every time we have an opportunity to show and demonstrate the impact of the hub, whether it's to people from other municipalities, to our own mayor, I take the opportunity to do so.
Thank you so much for those words. You've given us a real good introduction into the next part. Luc, before we discuss the concept of the third place, we're many of us are here are fortunate that we've been into this and we get the excitement. But can you give us for those people who haven't been in there, can you give us a couple of stories of real impact and how this has impacted on, I think, for example, of the Asaroit arts people?
Sure. Yeah. We'll cover Asaroit. For those who are not familiar with this organization, it's a not-for-profit entity called the Asaroit Inuit Arts Center. Really lovely organization. I was told that the Inuit population in Ottawa is second only to the north. So there's approximately 6,000 to 7,000 people who are Inuit or strong ties to the Inuit community. So to have a space of their own, which is open to all ages, family-friendly, elders, where they can come and eat food together, prepare food together, to share stories, to also maintain traditions of their amazing craft culture. So think of the incredible embroidery and sewing traditions in Inuit culture. This is all preserved through this organization called Asaroit Inuit Arts Center. And there are very important I guess, one of the member organizations of the Community Hub. And the lovely thing with a third space like this is we see each other in the hallways every day. So this familiarity with the people who work here leads to wonderful conversations, which then, we generate new ideas for collaboration. And in one way, I think reconciliation happens here as an everyday occurrence. We have another tenant by the name of Odawa Native Friendship Center, and they too, play such an important role, not just for the Indigenous communities, but for Ward 13 and beyond. So again, I like to use I'm going to age myself here, but if you remember that show called Cheers, that bar is like where everybody knows your name. That's certainly the feeling I get at this place is, Sebastian and I will walk down the hallways and we run into people that are working in one of the 30 organizations in the building. And that leads to conversations and just this sense of, belonging.
Yeah. That's exactly that. At its crux, that's what it is. It is a beautiful space of belonging, which is what really attracts me at its heart to the space. I think it's 7:27. I think let's open up to the floor to see if there are some questions that people would like to pose, and I'm sure through that we'll get to other examples and stories of how this place comes to life.
I see a few people who have been in the building, so it'd be really interesting to hear your perspectives. I see Louise and Yaya, John.
Sarah's here.
Sarah.
Steve's been here.
Steve, yes. And Kate, I think, is there too, yeah.
Well, since everybody's being really quiet, I'll jump in. And hello, everyone. My name is Kate Proctor. I live in Gatineau, just across the river from Ottawa. And I had the pleasure, it was really organic how I got to know about this place. And Yaya, who's on the call, I met them through some connection on LinkedIn, I think. And then I was invited to this space where Sebastian and Luc are sitting right now for a community consultation. And from there, I met Luc, and Luc took me around the spot, the building on another occasion. And partway through it, I looked at him and I said, "You're blowing my mind here. I don't believe all of what's going on," because there just was such diversity. And to someone in the chat had asked, "Is there outdoor space?" Yes, as Luc had taken me around, there's gardening involved. There's compost being made in the space. But my background is in the arts. And so Luc was really interested in showing me a theater. There's a 700-seat theater in the space. And again, that kind of blew my mind. And so we talked about what goes on in that theater space right now, the opportunity for utilization of that space within the arts community. And then so we started thinking about that. And then he also took me down to a black box space, which has, a smaller space for performance art. And there's also like an audio booth, etc. And then I started thinking, it's like, well, with everything going on with blogs and podcasts and such these days, I said, there's a whole opportunity there. So I'm not going to take over all this time, but I just wanted to say, from my perspective, my mind was blown. I went back a second time, it was blown again. I got introduced to, again, a lot of the people or organizations that have been talked about already, but it's just, I've never seen anywhere like this. And I think a lot of credit goes, my contact, Luc, of course, I've met Sebastian on my second visit, but I think Luc does so much. So thank you, Luc, for all of your work, for bringing these connections together and almost being, I felt like an ambassador to the space. So that's for me.
Thank you very much indeed, Kate, and it's wonderful to see you here. Yeah, are there any, do we have any more? We must have questions from the floor. Yes, John. Oh, you're on mute, John.
There we go. I don't have a question, but I want to sort of build on what Kate just said. Tremendously exciting to sort of when Luc contacted me and I went and just to see all the possibilities. And this space is fantastic. But the key is not just the space. It's actually people like Luc and Sebastian and others who build on and nurture and water the social relationships. There's still, I think, the school is almost full of nonprofit organizations, and I think there's still a lot of work to do to sort of bring them together as face to face and in social situations, so that everybody knows what can be known from the people at the space there.
Yeah.
If I can share a quick story, Peter, because I think it gets really real when you talk about people. Ralston mentioned earlier about that senior who comes to school, 80 plus. I mean, that's absolutely an example of a story. But here's one that's more recent. We recently came across a family who left Haiti 2 months ago because of the turmoil in the country. They really left with, just the bare bones, what they could bring to Canada. And they settled not too far from this location. And they were directed to come to the community hub for various services. And since they were here, there were 3 young boys and their parents. The parents used one set of services from one social service agency. The 2 twin boys checked out the gym that Odawa runs, and they immediately gravitated to that. And then the 3rd son is the one who ended up here in the incubator, just curious, saying, what do you do here? So when we mentioned innovation, his ears perked up and he said, you know what? That's what I was doing in my home country, in my city, Port-au-Prince. He goes, I was trying to help the university there to, become more innovative and help students get interested in creativity and innovation. And I said, you know what? I said, if you want to just come and hang out here in the incubator, feel welcomed here, no expectations. I just want you to feel like you could, plant some roots here.
Mhm.
And, build your network and, you're gonna have dreams and aspirations in your new country. What can we do to cultivate that, open doors for you? And it's just a story where, it's one person where you might think, okay, well, is that gonna make a difference? Well, in one way, he's super grateful that there's a space like this that he feels he can come to. Simple as that.
And if I can maybe jump in, it's exactly those stories, I think, that exemplify what we do here. It has a lot to do with compassion. It has a lot to do with real connection. Literally every single time when we have the opportunity to walk down a corridor, there's someone that either is looking for a place or is new here or is trying to find someone. And I think we all make an effort in trying our best. It's not a perfect building, it's not a perfect world, but we're really, everybody in this building has a mission to help others. And I think that's what makes this really welcoming. We all have different backgrounds. The other day, one of my colleagues was asked to come to a different organization because she speaks a certain language to translate. Like, there's a lot of, Luke said, small things, but I think them all together make this a welcoming space. And I think that is a huge part of why this works. It is a huge, we're very lucky also to have, and I want to mention this also here, we have a school board by our side with an incredible team of custodians who are doing like much more than they would have to every single day, helping us to make this place welcoming. And I think then all it is left for us to do is sort of like find ways to, I don't know how to explain it better, but like to play that instrument that has been given to us to a certain extent and invite others to help us play with us. And I think that ultimately works, not always. There's many times when also things don't work, but that's okay. We're here to try, we're open for ideas and we're open to try things. And many times it does work. So I think, yeah.
Peter, you might, one trend that's quite concerning, were to follow social media, do a search on third places, the trending pattern is that people are concerned about the loss of third places, that these places are disappearing, or if they do exist, they tend to, be situations where things are monetized. You have to pay to be there to access the space. So there is a very real concern out there that these types of spaces are decreasing and to the detriment of social good.
And on the flip side of that, Luke, I mean, my long background was in education, and I'm telling you, I get a lot of phone calls every week, even though I've been retired for many years. People who they're starting to lose hope a little bit. And so if any time in history we've needed something like this, it's now. And I really think this is one of the reasons I wanted to do this evening, was to get the word out there, because it's a wonderful model of a place of belonging. I wonder, Yaya, did I see that you had your hand up earlier? Okay, because I'd love to hear your perspective and a little bit of how you came to this remarkable hub.
Thank you. Also, Richa is here as well. She's just off camera.
Okay, hi, Richa.
So yeah, I met Luke through Bassam, who knew Luke before. We had a Zoom call, and I absolutely had no knowledge of who Luke was or what he did, and it was a full surprise. And like, I went away from the Zoom call being very energized, because I was like, yes, this is someone I have met in this city after feeling really lonely, who understands the value of community. And I was excited to go meet Luke at the Rideau Hub, and I had no idea what the Rideau Hub looked like, what it was, even though I'd lived in the same area. And once I did, he gave me the wonderful Luke tour of the space, and I just fell in love. I came back home, and I yapped about it to Richa for an hour. I'm like, this place is incredible, and then I kept going back. I think my perspective on it is that I everything that everyone has said is incredible, but I in my other jobs that I work, like I've come across people and a lot of immigrants, and I just tell them about the Rideau Hub now as a reflex, and they're like, "Yeah, I know about it. I go there." And I actually like hearing that. I'm like, I've met so many immigrants now who are just like, yeah, they know about the Rideau Hub. And that just makes me feel happy that like the word is going around, they're accessing those services and they know what's happening. Like just the other day, I did meet an Inuit lady and her daughter who recently moved to Ottawa. And I was telling them about the Inuit Art Center, and she's like, yeah, that's one of the first places that she went to, and she really loved the whole space itself. Uh, so yeah, it's I feel that it I wish there was a place like that in every single community in Ottawa.
Abs-
It would be incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. And yeah, it's always wonderful to see you at those spurious events. Somebody was asking for some on the chat. They were talking about is there any makerspace activity there? Luke, would you like to speak, or Luke or Sebastian, speak to that amazing event that you put off in September, the Fab Fest?
So yeah, Peter, maybe there's a question, Fred there has his.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed. Yep.
Oh, go ahead, Fred, yeah.
Sorry, I made a hot corner down there where my mute button was and had something pop up that I didn't need. I'm sensing the energy of community, and I was sort of picturing the times when I was in intergenerational situations. And this thing sounds like it's so rich. You could have a creative writing class, a photography class, a gardening group, and then creatively joining them together so that the photographers would go out in the garden with the gardeners and get down low and take a new perspective and look at the gardens from ground level or something like that. And then those pictures that are composed go to the poetry writing group and they make poetry from it, or the creative writers can create stories about being 1 inch tall and going into these alien spaces. And then just this idea of how you can feed the energy off of one another. Just being in those rich environments stimulates us in our imagination and our creativity. And that's the beauty of what I'm sort of seeing there. And then I wondered about times where you might share stories, you all write in a certain genre. And it could be about the Rideau Center. It could, somehow just get that synergy going. And I put in the chat about my first high school was so amazing because we supported one another. And it just created that energy. And we're still friends to this day because we did so many things together. And that's what's made me excited about today's talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. And maybe Peter, just your question about the festival that we organized here. I'm going to invite two of the folks that are here with us. I see Louise and I see Sarah, who were both exhibitors at the Fab Fest.
Yeah.
Maybe a quick word about that just before hopefully Louise and Sarah would like to share their experiences. The festival took place in the former school cafeteria. So this was a really kind of a cool reimagination of the cafeteria as an event and festival space. Who would have thought? But it lent itself for that type of event. So we basically celebrated everyday creativity. And just a point to Peter here, the Fab Festival was very much inspired by that April conference that the CNIC held at the Rideau Community Hub. And also it was a little, FAB is a little play on words, meaning Festival Awakening Brilliance. And Awakening Brilliance is something Peter has been such a strong champion for in our school system. So if Louise and maybe or Sarah, I'd like to maybe share a few thoughts about your experience at the Creativity Festival.
Sure, I can start. First, I echo other people's comments about how welcoming the space is. I met Luc some years ago, but reconnected with him this summer. And when we did the tour, well, even just walking into the building, it feels it feels homey. It feels, but yet it feels international. When you walk in, there are flags of like numerous countries on the ceiling tiles. There are different artworks that are done in a cabinet on the side that are obviously made by community because they're not like professional art, but you can like that makes it feel accessible. And also there's a sculpture and other indications of the space being used by multiple interested parties that and the tour, yes, the Luc tour was wonderful. And I was amazed. One particular thing that amazed me was the where you grow the herbs and vegetables for the like inside. It just blew me away, and that was part of the food bank. So I was thrilled to connect and talk about creativity. And I'm my background is in design, but for many years now I've been doing art for healing and creativity for innovation type of things. And I was exhibiting a series of mandalas that I had done, some as an artist in residence for the medical faculty some years ago at Ottawa U, and just things that I had done that helped me through a really difficult time. So I was able to talk to a number of people about how art can affect us individually, but also as a community. And I loved the event. It was a number of my friends came, and I love the Lego people. I met a few other people that wanted to connect after the Fab Festival, and yeah, it's a really wonderful space. And I echo the sentiment that we should have one in every community or every area of town. Or more of it, but what's happening there is really special, and I know that Luc specifically has been using his special talents as a communicator and bringing people together. And I've been there for different things, and I'm really thankful to be included in what's going on there, because it makes me feel part of a community, but it also it brings me hope that that we can do things together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just to build on that, Louise, what struck me as I walked into that space, that FabFest space, that was a model of the very best classrooms and schools that I've been in, where kids are involved in areas of passion, and so they become totally immersed. And sometimes there's no member of staff that has a clue about what they're interested in, which puts you out to community. Why there is this disconnect between school and community, I have no idea. I'm going to reframe that, sorry, to put it in a positive way. Schools must be part of that broader community, and so much more is accomplished, not to mention because of the support of belonging, well-being. Can we just now, who else was there? Was it Sarah? And by the way, I've just sent a link to the playlist that I did on my YouTube channel. You really should go and take a look, because both Louise and Sarah on this, and well, you better have a tissue with you, is all I can say. Just beautiful.
Yeah,
Sarah,
thank
what are
you.
your thoughts?
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm Sarah Prisma. I'm a local artist, focusing on kind of bridging, using mental art for mental health. And so having discussions around what that looks like for us as independently doing creative things, as well as in the broader collective aspect. And so being able to come do some stuff at Fab Fest was really exciting. There was a lot of creative freedom for each person to come and bring what their specialty is, what their kind of passion is. And I found it really inspiring to walk around and take in the other people's offerings and realize that there's so many opportunities for us to connect with ourselves in different ways, whether it be through play or innovation, thinking forward, being with community, being with ourselves. So I just found that there was a really great blend of different types of things that people love to share, and to have it not be focused on like sales and things like that. I found it to just be really a unique kind of space where it did kind of encourage the imagination for people to kind of come out, and there was definitely a lot of nostalgia and things like that. So I really enjoyed the event, and it really shows what kind of innovative things the Rideau Hub can really do with different people coming in with different experiences and different ways that they want to bring more liveliness to the community. So yeah, I'm here for it.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
John has a question.
Not so much a question, but sort of an add-on to everything that's been said. Completely, of course, agree about, awakening curiosity, leading to creativity and imagination. But there's also another level about which this is so important. These third spaces, this hub, is about getting community familiar with each other, building up trust in our relationships. Because when disaster arises, that's our emergency preparedness.
Absolutely.
Right? That's the core of our ability to, come together in disaster. And we forget how fundamental that is. And I think it's something we should hold in mind when we write proposals for funding, that this is ground zero for our ability as a society to come together.
John, you got me sparked here, because it's one of the things I've thought about a lot. Is I find it really ironic. Let's go back to the ice storm, a time of incredible turbulence. And what happens? Creativity breaks out. That's what happens. Think of 9/11 in Gander, Newfoundland, all of the plains land. What happens? Creativity breaks out. So what I like about the hub is that it's not a time, well, it sort of is a little bit, but there's no immediate impending crisis, but it's still filled with creativity. And so few organizations do that. And I don't understand it. Why do we have to wait for crisis to get creative and imaginative and to get those spaces of belonging? So I think in a nutshell, that's what I love about the Rideau Hub.
I'm gonna pipe in here just for a second. I think that place was birthed from creativity, but a forced creativity. So I worked at Rideau High School back when it was an actual high school. I was there throughout when we were going through the ARC study to have Rideau closed down and then subsequently moved over to another building. So to see Rideau High School as a high school, like when you work for a school board, and many of us on here work for school boards or have, sometimes we are not overly creative with what we do. If we close a school, which is very rare, then it ends up sitting there doing nothing and, just gaining dust. And in one case, we had one closed and it turned into a Walmart, right? But in this particular instance, because the community banded together, they saw something that the school board didn't necessarily see at first. They saw a space that could be used for something. We saw a closed building. Well, when I walked back in there last year and met with Luc and Sebastian as we were touring around looking to do for Odyssey, my first impression is always, as somebody who works for the school board in a capacity to look after buildings, I look at it from, we are running a school with a whole bunch of stuff in it that ought not be in there, right? Typically schools are used for schools. And when you can remember yesterday where the school looked like a high school and now it's basically a community center, well, when you picture community centers or things operating in one, like, you know, creative arts and whatnot, it's one little building that runs a program at a time and somebody picks up their stuff and leaves. What they've done, they've transformed an entire high school into a building that serves an entire community. And whilst we've been talking about that, I think we need to understand the gravity of what that actually means. We've turned a place that somebody deemed no longer required and turned this into a necessary place that continues to regrow and rebirth into every single space in that building is used to either give back to the community or to generate something for the community. And when you walk through those front doors, it's no longer Rideau High School. You can feel an energy in that building that is very hard to describe for walking into a high school that was built in the late 50s, right? Like, you know that there's something magical happening inside there. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there to go, yeah, as we're listening to the stories and things, it's remembering that we've taken something that was no longer needed and made this so necessary that we now can never get rid of it, right? Like that's essentially what we've done, and it's a very good job for everybody that's been in the building and that's in there now, that yeah, this is really where we are. Like, I mean, it felt amazing to me to take the tour, and I love the tour because you see every little nook and cranny, and you know, but it was amazing to go, this is what we've actually really done with this place, and it was very blessing to see that. So I just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, thanks very much, Dan. The phoenix rising from the ashes, is it? Matt, we've got just this will be the last question, I think. Matt.
Oh, okay, good. I'll try to make the best of it. Yeah, so my name is Matthew Lorty. I'm a resident of Manor Park, about a 5-minute bike ride from the community center.
Okay.
Some of you might know that Ottawa is currently drafting through Budget 2025, which will be considered for adoption by Council in December. Now, several advocacy groups like Acorn, Horizon Ottawa, and Ecology Ottawa, among others, have collaborated to create an alternate budget called the Ottawa Coalition for People's Budget, a framework and key demands for Budget 2025. Some of their initiatives made me think of how it would empower the Rideau Rockcliffe Community Center to better assist the community it serves and fulfill the role of a third place and hub for social cohesion. Among these demands are shifting funding from punitive and enforcement-based approaches to more investments in community services and non-police interventions to better address root causes of social issues, immediately and significantly increase access to municipal land for household and community food production. Yeah, like when I saw the kitchen and the food production area at the Rideau Hall Community Center, it made me think of that. And increase financial support indexed to inflation for community-led food solutions, including community gardens, farms, forests/orchards, kitchens, harvesting programs, meal programs, and social enterprise supports for food and farming startup businesses. And finally, increase financial support indexed to inflation for community-led programs working to remove barriers to employment, including a focus on affordable childcare, mental health, and immigration support. So now finally my question is, Mr. King, would you fight for these initiatives at City Hall?
Not sure if the councillor is still on. I can't see from my screen. Well, I think it's certainly a conversation we can take forward. I'm not seeing him, but then again, my screen is only allowing me to see so many. Well, Matt, let me perhaps just say this right now. That's really interesting. I was not aware of that initiative, and it's certainly something worth exploring. So yeah.
Yeah, I could send you the link to the document if you like.
That'd be fantastic. Thanks very much.
Yeah, I would appreciate that too. Matt, just to what I can share is that we've been having a really productive and great conversations with Ross. And I think we're really blessed in our ward with a councillor that supports the initiatives that are happening here. But I, of course, cannot speak for him, but what I've seen is that there's been a lot of support, be it through the city or also being it through other levels that we can always count on the support. There is, we find also sometimes there are other ways. We do work with the city and we put our demands towards the city that we require funding, but we've also found other ways in terms of funding opportunities to bring some of these initiatives here. So for example, the garden spaces are largely funded through a third funding provider, and I'd love to connect. I would love to have that conversation to see how we can support what you guys are doing. Maybe I can chime in with one last thing because I know it's coming to an end, but we have a great opportunity for everybody as if we had planned it. Actually, on December 3rd, there's an open house happening here at the Community Hub. It's starting at noon and it's going on until the evening around 5 to 6 o'clock, I think. From what I understand, if you're in the area or if you're not in the area, I want to come over here. There's going to be most of the organizations in the building will be in the cafeteria. We'll be there. Luc will be there. He'll do tours all day long.
That's right.
And I'll join in as well if I can. But yeah, it'd be great to see some of you on that day. But I think what we always also want to say is if you are interested in coming and having a look and learning more about the space, we are always here. That's what we've been doing since day one, is doing these tours. And we really appreciate interest. We appreciate your ideas. We appreciate collaboration. Your criticism is also appreciated because we certainly don't know everything. And we learn every day, and we also make mistakes every day, but that's okay. I don't know if there's a way for, I can't reach my computer right now, but I don't know if our email addresses are there. If not, I'll type mine in a second. Would love to hear from you.
And or people can reach out to me, and I can pass on the information. Yeah. So you're telling me that the Odyssey is continuing on December
3rd. I'll try to find a link. Does it work with the links here in the chat? Then I'll quickly find it.
Yeah.
Peter, final thoughts.
Well, I think that I think that my motivation for doing this was just because I think it is such a timely and wonderful idea, and you actually summarized it beautifully, Stan. In a sort of a metaphoric way, as you so often do, but I think it's a lot of food for thought. I think it's a model for other communities, and I think it brings so many people from diverse backgrounds, and in often cases very marginalized and not very well off backgrounds. It gives them hope and it gives them community. So I just think it's such I can't think of anything more important than that in this age of complexity and lack of hope, to be honest.
Well, I want to thank you, Peter, and you, Luc, and Sebastian as well, and for everybody who was speaking this evening. This is why we come back and do this every month. So I want to thank you so much for the discussions, right, and for letting us know about the Rideau Community Hub. Like, this is an extremely important thing in our city, and this has been a really good discussion. So thank you all. We want you to know that Scenic is socially connected, so check out our website at www.canadiannetworkforimaginationandcreativity.com. It is all one long run-on word. We can also be found on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube under Scenic. Find us online for more information and links to register for Idea Jams, bios, view our past Idea Jam sessions, and we are working. I'm aware that there's a little bit of a disconnect between our YouTube stuff, so we are working on getting them updated, so they will be there very shortly. You can see our chats and other helpful information about us and what's coming up. As I close for the evening, we do really, as a committee, want to thank you for joining us this past hour. As Scenic, we really do look forward each month to these idea jams, and we look forward to the hour that we spend with you. This is a great opportunity to learn and to share and just spend a really good time on a Thursday evening. So please enjoy the rest of your November. The countdown to Black Friday is on. December is coming way too fast. And wherever you are and whatever you do, please have a safe and happy time until we can all meet again. Keep an eye on your emails. If you aren't getting them from us, sign up and register through our website. And other than that, everybody, thanks again. Have a great night, and we will see you next month.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Thank you,
Love to hear
Peter.
from you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone. Bye, guys.
Thank you.